Some of Arizona's top medical professionals tell us what they've learned since the COVID-19 outbreak began over a year ago.
Plus, how a boost to the state food stamp programs will impact Arizona's hungry families.
And later this half hour on Break It Down, the difficulties that come with changing careers.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jenna Delatorre.
And I'm Reed Harmon. Thank you for joining us. It's been just over a year since the first case of COVID-19 was reported in Arizona. As infection rates continue to soar, the state held some of the highest reported cases across the world, multiple times. Today, the Mayo Clinic held a briefing to reflect on the challenges this past year has brought. Cronkite News reporter Ray Lee Klein attended and gives a recap of what this year has looked like.
This has been a year of immense challenge for hospitals across the world, especially for prestigious clinics like the Mayo Clinic. Mayo doctors and staff saw spikes in patient care, research, and telehealth. The COVID-19 virus introduced challenges the Mayo Clinic says it has never dealt with before. And as the adversity continues, experts offered key insights as to what they have learned. Doctors and hospital staff provided care for more than 2,000 patients with COVID, but the biggest lesson they weren't prepared for was how the virus would affect people outside of the hospital, from job loss to mental health. The virus changed almost every aspect for the Mayo Clinic's operations. So what do the experts expect for the future?
I think we'll see more of these cases, but I think the infection control procedures that we have, the treatments that we have, our ability to diagnose and test and treat people early will all keep a cap on where we are. So I personally don't foresee a huge next surge of lots and lots of new cases.
Regardless of what the next chapter holds, the Mayo Clinic says they feel confident about their new procedures and will continue to be resilient. The Mayo Clinic in Arizona says it is working with county and state agencies on the distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. They have received a small initial supply of the vaccine and began to administer first dose vaccinations on January 30th. For Cronkite News, I'm Ray Lee Klein.
The last few weeks have shown a steady decline in Arizona coronavirus numbers. But what's behind the drop? Dr. Josh LeBaire, the executive director of ASU's Biodesign Institute, says it isn't the vaccine, at least for now. Instead, LeBaire believes the decline has come from the end of the holiday season, with mask use and social distancing helping out as well. He also says he's hopeful the vaccine rollout will begin to drive case numbers further down before newer and more infectious COVID variants are able to spread throughout the state.
Meanwhile, Fry's Pharmacy has begun offering COVID-19 vaccines at select locations across Arizona. According to the store's website, select pharmacies around the country received a limited supply of the vaccine, and now they're working with the federal and local governments to administer doses. Right now, the grocery store chain is only offering the vaccine in some stores in Maricopa and Mojave counties. Since Arizona is still in phase 1 of the vaccine rollout plan, only healthcare professionals, education workers, and adults 65 years or older are eligible. You can check appointment availability through their website. For almost a year now, many schools in Arizona and across the country have made the switch to online learning. But a new CDC statement says more schools may be able to open for in-person learning sooner than they thought. During a recent White House press briefing, CDC officials said there's increasing data to suggest schools can safely reopen without teachers needing to be vaccinated. While teachers are still categorized as essential workers, they aren't required to get vaccinated for schools to open.
Nearly 1.4 million Arizonans struggle with hunger daily, and the numbers have gotten worse during the pandemic. It's something the Biden administration hopes to address with a boost in food aid. Cronkite News reporter Molly Hudson has details from our Washington bureau.
We know many families are hurting.
That shows in the rising number of Arizona families in the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, says Stacy Dean, the Deputy Undersecretary over Food Programs at USDA.
About 420,000 families in Arizona are using SNAP's benefits. That's up from about 375,000 families a year ago.
That's why the Biden administration wants to boost SNAP, or food stamp benefits, by 15% through September. It also wants to continue a program that helps get food to low-income school kids who are not in school.
The proposal includes a 15% increase in SNAP benefits that would be extended through the end of September. It also includes increasing pandemic EBT benefits, which is actually a program that was created last spring to provide an EBT card to families who relied on free or reduced price school meals to purchase food when schools closed last spring.
Angie Rogers, the president and CEO of the Arizona Food Bank Network, says the second round of PEBT could reach about 630,000 school-aged Arizona children in addition to children under 6. But Rogers wonders if it will be enough.
And the increase for SNAP benefits of 15% is really the equivalent for those children of a snack.
She says the increase adds up to about 90 cents more per child per day, or about $6.73 daily.
So, is that enough to feed children? Probably not, but it's getting up there. It's getting to a place where we're feeling confident that they'll be able to buy healthy, nutritious items.
And it could help the state's economy while it helps fight hunger, says Andrew Segru.
Every dollar that is issued in SNAP benefits to a family and used, it garners approximately $1.5 to $1.75 in economic activity.
Experts say families spend those dollars almost immediately at local stores, helping the community and keeping food on the table for young children. Even a little bit helps, says Cynthia Zwick of the anti-poverty group Wildfire.
It's a welcome effort. I think it's something that's hugely needed here in Arizona and across the country.
Rogers welcomed the discussion about hunger, but said she hopes it continues after the pandemic. In Washington, Molly Hudson, Cronkite News.
Stacey Dean, the USDA Undersecretary, says states have been having trouble operating food assistance programs due to the pandemic. She says if you have had trouble applying for federal food programs, to please try again.
Coming up next on Cronkite News, the cybersecurity risks for those quarantining at home. We'll give you some tips to keep your information safe after the break.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and local content from your PBS station.
Is working from home making us more susceptible to hackers? Cronkite News reporter Nick Shesky sat down with several experts in the field to find out how to protect yourself.
The COVID-19 pandemic has got a lot of people working from home. But with so many businesses operating remotely, are we still cyberly secure? I sat down with Salim Hariri, a professor at the University of Arizona, to discuss cybersecurity in these cyberly distant times.
We call it in technical terms the attack surface. The attack surface, like you have a house, somebody can get inside your house from the doors, from the windows, and all of this. So with the Zoom, the attack surface where you could be compromised becomes huge, because there's so many opportunities for the bad guy to penetrate. And
Hariri and others at the University of Arizona are working to promote what he calls zero trust principles to fight this.
So the idea is that anytime you interact with someone or receiving data, we call it transactions. And that transactions, we're going to assume it's malicious until I can verify and validate all the components involved.
Now, this all may sound very scary, but Haley Mills, a member of the Cybersecurity Council of Arizona, says that you really shouldn't worry, because as the hackers get better, so do the defenders.
It's always going to be this sort of cat and mouse back and forth of attackers leveling up their game, trying new and novel techniques, and then defenders coming up with new and novel techniques to catch those attackers. And that's just going to keep happening forever.
Mills says there are things you can do to better protect your data. She recommends using unique passwords and definitely not clicking any suspicious links that you find on the internet.
It seems like this vague threat that you can't do much about. I like to balance the message between like, don't worry too much, but also there are some things you can take into control.
No matter what new technologies may come our way, there will always be people like Hariri and Mills fighting to keep our data secure.
As always, the new technology comes in, they bring the new opportunities and new problems.
Along with using unique passwords and not clicking any suspicious links, Mills also recommends freezing your credit when it's not in use. Doing those 3 simple things should dramatically reduce your susceptibility to being hacked. In the broadcast center, Nick Shesky, Cronkite News.
Hi, I'm Uncle Peralta. Coming up after the break, I'll have your Cronkite Sports Report. We'll talk to one lucky Cardinals fan who's headed to the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. We'll show when she will compete for the Ultimate Superfan crown. Don't go away.
Ready to watch the best of PBS anytime, anywhere, on nearly any device? It's easy with the free PBS Video app. Simply download the PBS Video app on your mobile or streaming device. Now you can watch the latest PBS episodes or catch up on the shows you missed. Discover new favorites from PBS and local content from your PBS station.
Here we go, lights up. Whoa.
As artists, we conduct our educations in public. You can never know whether it's going to be a success. One just has to risk it.
It's you and the work and the place. It's a very particular relationship.
Here's our lens. Tell us what you think.
Friday night at 9 on Arizona PBS.
I think he was a terrific father sometimes. I think that he was a loving husband sometimes. I think he was like so many people, except this enormous talent. Hemingway is very complicated. I hate the myth of Hemingway. It obscures the man, and the man is much more interesting than the myth.
Coming in April to Arizona PBS.
Welcome back to Cronkite News. I'm Marco Peralta, and this is your Cronkite Sports Report. Across the nation, February is Black History Month, and in honor of it, a new mural has popped up on the side of Phoenix Suns Arena. This mural is also part of a broader Black History Matters project that will include 28 murals in the Phoenix area over the course of February. The piece signifies the Suns and Mercury's combined social justice efforts. Representatives of both teams were painted wearing shirts associated with these movements. Head coach Monty Williams was humbled by the inclusion in the project.
For me, it's a way to not only remember the history of African American people in our country and around the world, but to also honor the people that stood up for me, Black and white and brown.
A coronavirus outbreak within the Minnesota Wild has occurred, which now means the Coyotes will have to sit out this weekend. The Coyotes had a back-to-back set in Minnesota this weekend, but both games have been postponed. Now the challenge for the NHL will need to face is when to make up these lost games due to the outbreaks. The league has postponed 20 contests so far this season. Coach Rick Tocchet has concerns about finishing the season on time.
It's kind of starting to hit the teams now, and if that trend continues, it's going to be hard to get 56 in, you know. And I know people are talking about the Olympics, and they're trying to make the season end before that. Like, there's a lot of different scenarios, but if we stop this trend, hopefully soon, I think you can get the 56, and if not, it's going to be really tough.
And one of the most anticipated games in sports is finally here. Super Bowl 55 kicks off on Sunday, and while the Cardinals aren't playing, they'll have a superfan representing them in the pregame contest. Former cheerleader Chrissy Brown will display her Red Sea fandom in Tampa as one of the 3 finalists for the Ford Hall of Fame. She was nominated by former Cardinal and Pro Football Hall of Famer Aeneas Williams. Brown is the first Cardinals representative to make it this far in the contest's 3-year history.
I just keep saying over and over, football is family, and it is not even come close to ringing true until it did with this, because the Red Sea has just been super supportive. And, being the first person in Arizona to be nominated for this, it feels great to represent Arizona and to be the first person to get this far.
Christy isn't the only Arizona connection to this Sunday's big game. Cronkite News reporter James Malamis explains why fans might see some familiar faces on the sidelines.
Bruce Arians, recognizable with his iconic hats, coached in Arizona for 5 seasons and led the Cardinals to the 2016 NFC Championship game. Now at the helm for the Buccaneers, Arians coaches in his first Super Bowl and thanking Arizona for paving the way.
Oh, so many relationships, what a great organization. I loved all the time I had there.
Arians isn't the only Bucs coach to spend time in the Valley. Byron Leftwich was with the Cards in 2018. Now he's Tampa Bay's play caller. Arians also brought defensive coordinator Todd Bowles with him from Arizona. As for the Chiefs, defensive backs coach Dave Merritt spent time under ASU head coach Herm Edwards when Edwards coached the Jets. And who can forget the Honey Badger? Tyrann Mathieu was drafted by the Cardinals in 2013 and will now try to win back-to-back titles for Kansas City. He owes a lot of his success to his time in the Valley.
When I think about time in Arizona, I think about all of the good people, all of the good teammates I had that really put their arm around me, embraced me, and really allowed me to, flourish in the NFL.
And finally, less visible is Brian Johnson, who's been an ASU groundskeeper for 36 years. The Fieldmaster is in Tampa preparing the turf for the big game, one of several he's had the privilege to work on.
Well, I started at Super Bowl 30, and this is Super Bowl 55, so 25. But I did miss a few years. I worked the Pro Bowl in Hawaii for a couple of years, so it's probably been 23 Super Bowls, something like that.
Johnson's stamp on the field puts the finishing touch on Arizona's ties to Super Bowl 55. James Malamis, Cronkite News.
That's today's Cronkite Sports Report. Back to you, Jenna and Reed.
Thanks, Marco. Well, that does it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.